I'm that girl who knows that happiness is not a destination, it's a mindset. I was told that recently by my subconscious when I was trying to find out what was the best location for me to go and be happy. And that's when it turned into a really super cheesy Hallmark card and said, Joanne, it is not a destination. It's not an actual location. It is a mindset, and that I could literally be living on the side of the road and be happy if I chose to be. And so it is about releasing myself and my responsibilities of what actually are not mine. And so that all compiles into my worries and fears for you all, how you have coped with this journey of learning this information, how you cope with the information from your own sessions, because when we get this profound confirmation, it's quite a lot, isn't it, my friends? Because we think we are all emotionally balanced and prepared to hear the big truth from our subconsciouses, and we're really sure we're all ready, we want just the truth, and we're very capable, and we're quite fed up of hearing other things that don't sort of resonate with us, that new earth is here. Is it? Okay, well then tell us, subconscious, how does that work? So there's so much going on, isn't there? And it's always another fascinating day ahead of us. Each day we are here to be of service. And I want to just acknowledge to all of those people who listen to these sessions and listen to me rambling on. I mean, that's heroes work in itself, isn't it? To be able to enjoy listening to me try to mansplain this information. I do the best I can. So what it looks like for some people is listening to those sessions, especially those really big summary sessions where I ask every question that is really the most common questions that people ask in sessions. And it is explained in one big epic session where it's like, whoa, if this was very new information for you, that's a lot to unpack, a lot. It's huge. And it's sort of, I know that people who have listened to certain sessions like that, from Conversations on Heaven on Earth, they either have they have options of how they process it. And so I have heard people be so profoundly activated that they start channeling from those, from that video, from those, I'm talking about one specific one, the Arcturian and Palladian messages. So for the Arcturian and Palladian group. So that was a lot, and it is profound, and it really, was so pleasing to know for those people who got profoundly activated listening to that one session, that they were really stepped into their awareness and their awakening of who they are and why they're here, and they've gone fantastic with it. And it was so pleasing and so beneficial for them. I've loved hearing their massive activations for listening to just one session, because of the frequency, because of the codes within it, because of a whole lot of things that are really beneficial to people who are really needing to hear this information and step up now. So it's fantastic, isn't it? Just to listen to one thing can really profoundly be so beneficial. So that's amazing. It sounds really easy to have done it that way, but this is for some people who want big, profound activations, not just like hints and maybe suggestions. They want, boom, this is the information. What are you going to do with it? That's right. You're going to connect in with us, and we're going to channel and be your best friends and jazz hands the rest of 3D. That's not for everyone, and that won't be for everyone for very many specific reasons. So the other spectrum of how people process that big information and those really big, heavy hitting sessions with just everything, it's like poison to them. They have done not much inner work. They have a lot of assumptions, and the whole thought of change and being out of control, they're not the master of the universe suddenly. How dare they tell that person that? Yeah, I love those people who still think that they create their realities. You create your mindsets, you create your perceptions of the world, but you are not in power of Gaia. You're not in power or control of other people's life contracts. and experiences and lessons. And while we're all one, we still have to play in the sandpit together and share. So there's that. And so anyway, as we know, when people are not supposed to hear certain information, they will start trying to like read the comments in the sessions, because I'll listen to that and I'll be multitasking. I will do my finances. I will do other things. A lot of people run listening to these sessions. I can't even get it out because I'm in shock that people run still. People run and listen to these sessions, and I think that's fantastic. And people garden and mow their lawns and do a whole lot of stuff. They, do their washing. I mean, that's heroes work, and they distract themselves from doing their 3D chores, and that's fantastic. But what I'm talking about is for the other people who are not supposed to hear certain information for whatever reason, maybe because they've got a different collective that's not going to be the experience for those collectives for this planet, or something else. So, and it's all fine. And so they'll listen to the sessions, and then they'll message me and we'll start chatting about certain things. And then I will ask them certain content and certain points, and they will say, oh, never heard of the laser, Joanne. What's the laser? And I'll just be like, oh, silly me, something else I was thinking of. Because if you have not heard about the laser in the sessions, totally fine. Do not worry. It's a hot mess when you start thinking about all of that, because our emotions just go out the window, and that's super purposeful. So in my private session that I had, because I wanted to just hear updates, just through my own subconscious, because I wanted to just clarify certain things. And I dedicate so much time to supporting other people. And while I can channel and while I've got great intuition, sometimes I just need to ask them some certain things. I discovered I kind of use them as like my mom and dad, like, okay, so daddy subconscious, am I allowed to move? Like I do that sort of stuff, like I'm not like giving them all my control and free will and, surrendering into them. But I fully respect them. And so there's a difference. So, I know I can do anything I want. I'm a big girl. And so, I know that they want me to be responsible for my own well-being. They want me to be responsible for my own fucking laundry. Ugh. How dare they? Oh, there was someone that said, why can't we just have like fairies that just come and do laundry for us? And I think, imagine that life contract. I will do laundry and only laundry for the rest of my life. Like that just, I just don't think fairies would be up for that task. If there's gremlins or there's something else, maybe that's their domain, but I kind of feel like they would like sabotage and like destroy our clothing rather than fold it. Anyway, I'm in this mood because I just feel so incredibly lighter now, that I can know what's my responsibilities and all this sort of stuff. So yes, I know I can use my senses and kind of guide myself through life easy. And I do enjoy being able to kind of do it by myself. Like, look at me, I'm such a big girl. I'm processing my emotions. I'm unpacking my inner work, and I'm keeping balance and neutral, and I'm doing it all by myself. Yeah, sort of kind of get proud about doing that, because, what I don't take my connections with my teams for granted. And I know so many people have been taken offline because they have misused this work, and they've mistreated it and abused their connections and a whole lot of stuff. And that does not look pretty. And I still have really big morals, and I still have really big integrity. And so just doing that sort of stuff really does not work for me at all. And I actually just think, oh my gosh, what brave choices, big lessons and experiences there, because whew, not my cup of tea. So anyway, there's that. And so I did ask in sessions about certain things. I did want to know about the laser. And yes, it's still very much part of the history of this planet for very many reasons. And, you know, it is so unfortunate, isn't it? Like, it's just so, it's going to be horrible. I know I'm going to cry. I know I'm going to cry and just be like, damn it. It really should never have got to this point ever. So there's that. So what I was shown in more depth that I haven't heard before in sessions is about how when it happens, we all hear the news, feel sick to our stomachs, utterly just disturbed, and their density just washes over us. And while we know it's all purposeful, lucky them, they've shifted, all of that, you know, we can all have the bigger picture and be really mature about it. But emotionally, we actually have to be of service. And what that looks like is actually holding that density. Ugh, yuck, right? So don't try to be a hero and rise above it quickly, because we all have to pitch in, we all have to be one and hold that density for a very important reason. So when we hold all that density, collect it all, be heartbroken for those people, be traumatized for everyone that's in shock, you know, start hearing the rumors and the whispers about what supposedly why and how that all unfolded. You know, we will hear so much disinformation about it that we will, you know, nearly give ourselves strokes with eye rolls, because it's so ridiculous that the mainstream media would even try to pull this shit on humanity after the fact. Anyway, not triggered. Not triggered. So it's really serious, you know, and I have the luxury right now to have this still ignorant, hopeful, in denial, it's not going to happen, it doesn't need to happen, somehow we'll figure it out, somehow we'll all mature. And wouldn't that be fantastic if we all suddenly got it? If we all suddenly was like, why are we separate from each other? Why don't we just deeply connect in and have massive epiphanies of profound awakening? If we all did that together, like the whole planet did that together, you know, I would think, well, maybe that could be like a really good possibility that we might not even need that. But it kind of seems like they've been trying to do that for humanity for a few centuries now. And it hasn't quite worked out for us, has it yet? So, you know, there's that. We can just hope, trust, all is well, and that these experiences are unfolding as they need to. So when we're holding on to this density and shock and just that whole range of emotions, I'm going to be pissed off that it had to happen. How horrible for humanity to go through that. And then I'm going to be like, oh, that's so naughty, Joe. You know, the bigger perspective. Don't be pissed off that people are learning and having experiences. That's not kind either. So, you know, I will be in this roller coaster of motion of like higher perspective and then emotions and then higher perspective and then emotions. And when we're playing that dance with ourselves to get back into neutral, and then we will probably get ourselves back into neutral and we'll talk to one friend and then just spiral down again with them, because that's how it would have to be, because it's just such a big impact. So the purpose, why do we have to have that density? Because we're all taking the density from Gaia, from her. It's like energetically, we're taking a huge hit and chunk of density, and we're all going to take it from her. And now I'm like, is it the planet we're taking the density from, or is it the soul? No, we're taking trauma. We're all taking that last reminiscences of trauma off Gaia's hands, off her soul's hands, because she's still. So she's gone through a lot of trauma, and while she's in a very restful space, you know, we're basically holding the trauma that she experienced in her perceived past. And so we're helping her profoundly release. So when we are taking that density, she no longer has it in her energy field. And so it gets a bit complicated, but trust me, we're all taking a big piece of this density pie that she has been carrying for us for all this time. And we take on as much as we possibly can and hold on to it to be able to let her release. And then as we process it ourselves and release it back onto the planet, because it needs to live on the planet and we can't take it with us. So it's energy, it is density, and it's emotions, and we are just simply taking a big piece. Everyone around the world is taking a big chunk of that density as we know about the event. And then she finally gets to escape, fully, completely severing the cable cord. And, you know, that's when she is officially no longer in this planet, and she's no longer attached to this planet energetically, because we're taking on that burden and trauma from her. And then she is officially allowed to make her journey to her reincarnation. So while she's no longer in pain, there's still sort of like, I almost want to sort of say humanity's debt to her. It's weird. It's kind of like karmic. So for us to kind of help her, I know that we weren't here being complete assholes for centuries, you know, and all that, you know, some of us may have, right? And it's no judgment, you know, fantastic. We got to have all those experiences, lucky us. So we are taking on that big chip of density, chunk of density, just to be able to honor how horrible we have been. And it's not judgment, this is not punishment, but this is like repaying our debt, like actually understanding. And so for the human collective, so we know we've got heaps of different collectives, right? So, you know, all of these collectives are all working together as, you know, as they love their committees and their meetings and all this sort of stuff. So all of this, the collective beings on this planet, we can call them, I don't know, anything at this point, but, you know, what's the point of adding more labels and that sort of stuff? So all the consciousness of this planet, when she leaves, will carry the burden of her density until we get to independently release it, because that is to really show the impact of what she has had to go through. And it seems weirdly that was the only way that they could fully, truly release her, is removing all that density from her. So yeah, it was kind of like undoing the wrongs energetically, density. I don't know. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot anyway. And so, you know, of course, we want to help Gaia. Absolutely. Why would we not at this point, given all the things that we know that's happened to her? Why would we not want to take on that? Because obviously, you know, lots of people will be like, oh my gosh, those poor people in the laser, and how many people are going to be impacted, and we're going to start being obsessed with the numbers and all the details and all this stuff. And I just don't know if that many people are actually going to be aware of Gaia again, because she sort of seems to be, you know, in the background of people's thoughts. Most people don't even know this planet has a soul or a consciousness. So, you know, there's that as well. So, you know, there's going to be a lot that's going on for us emotionally as we are unpacking the experiences to come. And yes, it's going to be a lot, definitely a lot, all purposeful, lots of lessons, lots of experiences. And it seems like it just seems like I can feel them showing me this is why lots of people need to leave now, because the shock and the worry and the fear of the laser event and what mainstream media are going to say, it's just going to be too much. Like people seem to be able to cope with following their own people. So, you know, people love to follow people. People do not seem to love or follow high dimensional beings. You know, so it's really interesting. And so they're going to be afraid that there are high dimensional beings that are going to now, you know, do things that are going to make humanity vulnerable. And there's a lot of people that are needing to exit now because they will simply not be able to cope with that experience of after the fact. So There's lots, isn't there? There's lots to think and ponder. And I just know that those people who are listening to those sessions and listening to these videos, there is something really important, and there are some really big purposes of why you are listening to these messages and this information. And it's totally okay. I totally do not mind at all if you're like half in denial of these events coming. Me too, sometimes. Me too, you know, because it's kind of how we are. Oh, I just would like to ignore all of that. Thank you. Deal with it when it comes. But I feel like they're trying to give us those tool belts. And as they sort of said in a session whenever ago, time, man-made illusion, not get fixated on it now, right? As they said, God, it totally went out of my head. Oh, well, that's all good. Obviously wasn't supposed to mansplain that again today. All purposeful that you listen to these sessions, and you're not to buy into future fear, because, you know, don't. It doesn't serve you, but sort of find your balance and neutral and remind yourself how you can get back into high frequency, whether it's music or walking or grounding or baking or running or whatever. No judgment here. So remember how you get back into your balance and how you have your inner peace. And so they're sort of giving you this information. They're preparing you. They're preparing all of us. And so I don't think they would prepare us for this big, and they do not prepare us for big information if it wasn't going to happen. Yes, I understand that dates have gone a bit funny, because what did I just say about time? It's an illusion. So we've all got to wait for every little domino to fall into place for it to be able to take effect. And as we know, many great, fantastic influences are really handbraking humanity right now. Massively handbraking humanity right now, because of their egos, because of their fear, because of their confusion, because of their lack of inner work and all this sort of stuff. So, you know, we know that our teams call them the problems and not the solutions for humanity. And so, you know, there's that, but it's also helping those people really awaken to the bigger truth. And when something is eating up at you, a side that it just doesn't feel right, like there's missing pieces to the information, and I'm not understanding it, and you can't explain to me how we're going to have this great reset here on Earth, and then suddenly we're not going to have any pollution or radiation problems or all of this stuff. The planet somehow is not going to be poisoned. Like, when they can't explain to you exactly how that's going to take place, and if you can't actually get the information yourself through your subconscious of actually how the planet is going to suddenly heal and not be so poisonous for us, and we're suddenly going to be mature and evolved and kind and compassionate still in the 3D, I'd love to hear about it, because I've asked so many high dimensional beings about that at this point, and you know, they are very firm in saying that it's not possible. In fact, they were sort of saying how this is really interesting, because I actually sort of thought that there was something interesting about Uberu, and I didn't quite know exactly what it is. I kind of had like a hope maybe it was like spaceship or something like that. I don't know why. I was like, there is something special there, but I don't quite know what. And when I don't keep questioning in my intuition, I don't get the answers. So when I was having a session and planning my questions, I was like, actually, I'm just kind of curious now. I want to know. And so what they were sort of saying is there is it's like an umbilical cord of energy that they put in there. So that's a really strong powerhouse spot that they would drive profound energy into their area and region and be able to uplift not the core, but it's the energy frequency of the planet. And they liked it because it was really remote, so not that many people were there. And if people did go, when they were pumping in this really high frequency, high energy for the planet and for humanity, the people there would just think that they were dehydrated because of the heat and sort of feel a little bit queasy, but it's because they're under the bubble, the shower, the rain of this profound energy that they'd pump into the planet. So that was like a umbilical cord that they were trying to show me, labels, blah. So it was really interesting, but they did say that they don't do that anymore. because this planet has basically a do not resuscitate order. So that's disappointing, right? Again, not disappointing, I can understand it, but that's how they used to support this planet. So they don't do that anymore, he said. My subconscious said, because it's just a waste of the energy and they need to focus on other things. And when you are, it's, you know, when we're elderly and, you know, we don't want to be resuscitated and the body is completely shut down and, you know, we're in that sort of state, we may almost be in a coma or something. I mean, that's how they've talked about Gaia in the past a lot. Now we know that Gaia's soul has detached. Mostly there's just that fine cabling, but she's still going through like her life review and unpacking everything. So she is super calm, she is super at peace, and she's super restful, and it is fantastic, and we love that for her so much. But there is still a lot that needs to be processed and unpacked, and you know, we're going to unpack a lot of that density for her. It's going to be an utter honor to do that for her. And so when you are feeling that density from that laser and those events, just set aside a little bit of time to think about how this is how Gaia's soul has been experiencing all of that heartbreak and that density and all of those challenges and experiences. She's like, I'm not complaining. You know, she was happy to help as long as she could. And she actually feels like she wished she could continued on longer. And she knows that it's just not possible she could have. And so she's working through that right now. And, you know, while she couldn't impact our free will, you know, she still wishes that there had been a different outcome, a better outcome, but she's still saying this is a better outcome, even though the lessons and experiences are full of density and that really dark emotional turmoils. You know, she can see things from the bigger perspective, and she's super mature about it. But she's just going through her own emotions of it, and so she has to overcome, accepting she did the best she could. No one's going to say she didn't do the best she could at all. She's tremendous. So anyway, there's that. Okay, I think I've chatted a lot today. So anyway, if you haven't thought and questioned, why are you one of those special people that is advanced enough to be able to hear this information, know this information? Why? It's not an accident. If you're still listening to these sessions and you still understand those sessions, and you actually find, you know, at some point balance and neutral with the information, and you're quite okay with it, why? It's fantastic. I'm so proud of you. Love you like forever, because that information is so profound. And again, if you haven't had your own sessions and you still deeply resonate with this information, so impressive, because, you know, it still would be easy. I know, you know, most people, it takes a big step to fully go into complete acceptance. I know I can't change anything at all. And so I have complete acceptance that whatever is going to unfold will unfold. Me pre-worrying about it, freaking out, begging, being in denial, all of this stuff, that's just a distraction and a waste of my energy. So I prefer to have balance with my energy and not misspend it. And so there's so much, but I just want to just say to you again, you have got obviously a really big role for humanity, and you obviously have a really big role for New Earth, or an ambassador for your home planets, to be able to be fully aware of what comes down, what goes on Earth at this time. It's really important to have individual accounts. And I know many people who are going to go to their home planets must be able to fully be aware of all of the nooks and crannies of it, because you're a reporter and you're a researcher for your home planet's curiosities, and you probably are an adventurist, and you stroll along all the universes having different experiences, and you're compiling your own planet's library. And it's not good enough to just sort of like, you know, buy a copy from someone else's version. You're the copy, you're the version, you're the soul essence experience that is going around collecting all of this data from all these different planets to provide for your people, your beings, your family, your crew, whatever they're called. And, you know, you're doing a profound job. And I think for those people who are those ambassadors, it's so hard because you literally do not have anyone from your own home planet. And so, you know, you're like on your solo missions, and, you know, I've heard some people only have like three soul, like from their home planet, 3 other beings. And so, you know, you're never going to meet each other. And so, that does feel so alone, doesn't it? When you can't meet your own people, because when you can meet your own people, there is an instant click, and you don't have any walls up, and you don't have any suspicions or anything like that, because you just so uniquely know each other's energy fields that it's just like, oh, an extension of self, fantastic. More room to throw thoughts around and share experiences together. But for those people who are not, you know, you don't mind, your soul doesn't mind being the only one. Actually, it's quite a bragging point. Yeah, I was there on Earth, weren't you? It was fantastic. 3D was amazing. I learned jazz hands. And a few other things. So my heart goes out to those people who haven't met any of their soul family, because they are doing special missions. And so I get that. And I just want you to know that you're truly never alone. Your teams are always there for you. And this is gives you more opportunities to go within and connect into your teams. And you would sort of be the people that really love the moon, because the moon is the amplifier of that energy that's been sent from home for you. So there is lots of little things that you really hold on to that does have a similar frequency. Not sure why we went on that tangent, but obviously it was really important. So for you, my friends who are still special in all the great ways, because we are all special, we are all one. And whatever our life lessons and purposes and significances and importances, I think that's a word, I'm just going to create shit from now on and just see if I can fly with I'm trying to just lighten my load and not take this all seriously, because the chances are, if you're listening to this information, you've already sort of done your inner work, and you aren't supposed to be fully shocked and awoken by the laser event. It seems like a lot of people will be, a lot of people. And so they're having all of these smaller little experiences, you know, there's smaller stuff like the COVID and all of that stuff to awaken. And of course, when you're awoken, it looks pretty big. Like, God, who can still not see that now? That's interesting. But the laser is going to be an unavoidable experience for all to have. So please, 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 when it does happen, do not beat yourself up if you go into density, because you're doing Gaia a beautiful service. You're doing humanity a beautiful service. And so it's going to be okay. It absolutely is going to be okay. It's a mind fuck, absolutely. But if you need to be reminded of something positive, move forward to after the shift. Move forward to when you have got to your destination after this, and be able to project how you would, what your future self would remind you of how to process now. That seems to be a really helpful thing, to know that you have a future, to know that you're going to be more advanced and more evolved than you are now, and you're going to be more your true self, and you will have true pride on how you have conducted yourself moving around in this 3D. So Much love to you guys. I know this is big. I know that we can all do it because we wouldn't be here listening and evolving with this information otherwise. So, okay, have a fantastic day. Love yourselves. Drink lots of water. Ground yourselves. Do some running if you need to. And definitely dancing and lots of singing and jazz handsing and finding that true joy.